So who are Kenta and Zach? Kenta is the CTO and co-founder at Soracom. He leads a team that has deployed the world's leading software-defined cloud-native telecom platform, field-tested by over 12,000 customers worldwide, and designed specifically for the needs of connected devices. Zach Allenbaugh is a solutions architect at Soracom. With more than 20 years experience in IT, his love for gadgets and technology drew him into the IoT world, where he enjoys working with customers to help design and implement amazing innovations that are continuously changing the world as we know it. So take it away, Zach and Kenta.
Thank you, Monica, for the introduction, and thank you everybody for joining.
Yeah, thank you. We are from Soracom. I'm CTO and co-founder of the company, Kenta. Monica just introduced me. Thank you for that, Monica. So a little bit about myself, and Zach will follow me for our self-introduction. We started company Soracom in order to solve the challenges in IoT. You know, there are so many cool ideas and cool concepts about connected devices, but when it comes to real world, I mean deploying many devices in the real field, there are so many challenges, like, for example, connectivity, security, device management, and all that. So, I was actually a researcher before, and I was doing connected home, connected car type research. And while doing that, I felt that it was so challenging to, well, making a prototype is easy and fun. Well, it's not always easy, but it's fun at least. But when it comes to moving that to production, there are, again, so many challenges. So we wanted to come up with a platform that can solve those common challenges. And that's what we do at Soracom. We will talk about what we do in more detail later, but that's kind of nutshell, in a nutshell, what we do. A little bit about myself. I used to, again, work as a researcher for connected home, connected car type of things. And after that, I joined Amazon Web Services, AWS, who is our co-sponsor for this IoT Hack Cellular Challenge contest. And I was working as a solutions architect and worked with various customers in Japan and also in the US. And also I worked as a developer at AWS while I was at Seattle. While doing that, I realized by using AWS, we can actually build anything, any kind of system better on top of using the cloud technology. And as I worked as a researcher in telco field earlier, I wanted to build a platform that can actually connect any kind of device and any people to cloud. That's how we started. So in 2015, we launched this platform, Soracom, and we have actually inherited a lot of the philosophy from AWS. For example, AWS brought in a concept of pay-as-you-go pricing model for computing resource, so that anyone can get started on building systems and scale as much as they want. We actually inherited the same philosophy. All our services are pay-as-you-go basis. You can get started in any time and scale as much as you like. We wanted to be a player to solve all these common challenges in IoT. Similar to, AWS has changed the world by bringing in cloud computing service that can actually make anyone build a server in the cloud. So that's kind of brief introduction of myself, and I will hand over to Zach.
Thanks, Kenta. So my name is Zach Allenbaugh. I'm a solutions architect. We're both based out of Seattle, if anybody couldn't tell by the overcast day behind us. So I'm relatively new to the company. I've always had such an interest in just gadgets and technology, which really drew me to the world of IoT. As we know, this is just the beginning of this market, and I always kind of like to describe it as the wild, wild west, which is very much how it feels, especially from where we sit. And the conversations that we have with anybody from a hobbyist to an enterprise company who's trying to get into the world of IoT themselves. So, we hear every day all these challenges that Kent described a few of them, and that challenge alone, really, and just the newness of this industry is what drew me to this. I'm that guy who has, all the smart home gadgets all over my apartment, and everything's fully automated with just the sound of my voice. And I think that's still amazing that you can do that just by, just a couple $1,000s maybe, or at the most, and at Best Buy. And, while that is certainly in the realm of IoT, that's more of what we consider kind of generation 1 of IoT. And we're definitely in a generation now where there's incredible things being invented, innovated, created. It's the best part of our job. I think we could all, at Soracom, agree that we're always, every day, impressed by the incredible ideas that people out there have. So it's just awesome to be a part of a company that has built a platform that enables that process from creation to, or idea, I should say, to prototype to production. And we have the ability now to get you past those difficult hurdles, which is one of the many challenges. So anyway, that's my intro. We can go a little bit into Soracom's history, and I'm going to just share some slides. Don't worry, we don't have a lot of slides here. But I want to share out and just have a little visual as we talk through. So just first of all, we'll say it again. Thanks again to Hackster and AWS and Seed for helping us put this together. So, excuse me, there we go. A little brief timeline of Soracom's journey. It's about 5 years old, founded in Japan by the man sitting to my left and 2 other co-founders. Built the platform over the course of a year or so and had a very successful launch. By 2016, already acquiring about 5,000 worldwide clients. Oops, sorry about that. And, excuse me. Launching in the US just a year later, and Europe shortly after that. In 2017, Soracom was acquired by KDDI, and KDDI is I believe the 2nd largest telco in Japan, CDMA network provider, and that really helped propel us into the next level with a solid foundation and much more resources to continue to build and create this platform. And by 2019, where we are today, that list is a list of services that once you're connected to our platform with one of our Soracom Air SIM cards, you have access to these services. And we'll get into some of those a little bit later. I'm not going to go through one by one here, but in a nutshell, this is what I was talking about when I mentioned ways that we are able to help that creation to prototype to production process. And where we sit now in 2019, a little over 10,000 clients worldwide. And again, just busy and super excited to continue to grow. So the question, what comes to your mind when you hear Internet of Things? There's, like I said earlier, there's kind of what we see as a previous generation of devices, like the Nest camera, for example, or the different gadgets you can get at Best Buy. And those are all great, but they connect to your home Wi-Fi network. And while that's very convenient, there certainly is a question of security, just all kinds of challenges built into that device, because in essence, it's much like at least what we consider kind of in a computer or an iPad or something similar. What we're getting into now with IoT are, again, amazing things that we find in a lot of people watching this now are probably very well aware of this, but there are certainly a lot of people surprised to learn about things like precision farming or agricultural technology, or the connected cow, as we like to say, where the cow can have literal wearables that will do things that are more than just tracking GPS movement and things like that, but something like tail movement. When the cow, for example, is about to go into labor, there will be a sensor on the tail, and that tail will start to move in a certain way and can actually send an alert to the farmer to say, hey, your cow's about ready to go into labor. Just things like that is really an example of the newer generation of IoT and all of these amazing ideas. I don't know, Ken, if you want to say anything about the customers that you worked with.
Oh yeah, exactly. So these slides actually, they are not just a fantasy. They are all our customers. So for example, as Zach mentioned, these connected cows, now through our partners and customer solution, the farmers can use their smartphones to keep track of cows. Another thing that I might mention is the one at the right below, the Kakasi, the farming sensor, this white little module that can be put into a vegetable field that can actually monitor temperature, humidity, and all basic information. And it also has built-in camera, and it takes a picture of the field once in an hour or so, and it sends the pictures to the cloud. And the cloud side, they actually generate a movie or life of vegetable, life of coffee beans, life of grapes. So that kind of contents actually can be a value add for those high value products like coffee beans and wine grapes. So there are so many things that we beyond our imagination. We didn't really think about these things when we started our platform. It's always our customers and partners who come up with great ideas. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to invite all of you guys to touch upon our platform and think about what you can do.
That's right. So to segue into those challenges, this graph here we show, because it's in its simplicity, is really the reality of a lot of about your options essentially for connecting devices traditionally to the internet. Let's say we've got our things on the left, which again will either connect to some Wi-Fi router or some internet gateway, traversing the internet before it gets to the cloud. Obviously, relinquishing quite a bit of control and visibility over the traffic sent to and from that device, and if there is any type of personal or identifiable type of data, that's always a concern as well. And I don't. Generation 1 of IoT hasn't really been able to address that very much. So what we have looked into in these challenges, just to kind of pinpoint some of the constraints on the devices, meaning the IoT devices that are out there in the field have a very large need to be as lightweight as possible. Many of these devices are battery powered. They've got some sort of internal processor, and the more that you want it to do, the more that it's going to consume those processes and that battery power. So we have ways within our platform services to offload a lot of those heavy computational processes from the device, and again make it as lightweight as possible, saving especially in the long run a lot of money for an organization, especially those that have thousands, tens of thousands, or maybe millions of sensors, for example, out there. We've got of course, the challenge of the connectivity, which again is for the most part, for I'd say 50% of the battle, really. To kind of put a number on it, it is limited in your options these days. For example, if I again have my device that I've created, that's all great, and I know it's going to work, and I know what it's capable of, but how do I securely and effectively and economically connect this device to the cloud? I think again, there's just a lack of options these days, and really this is one of the main reasons of the origin story of Soracom was that lack of connectivity options. Security, of course, again, if your traffic is not within your total visibility and control from end to end, and especially over the open internet, then this is certainly a concern and certainly a major vulnerability. I mean, really looking at any article about challenges in IoT from years ago to today, security is always going to be the #1 thing. And then, of course, once they're connected to the cloud, what can you do with that device and that data, and how can you manage it and those types of things? So we've enabled people, like, again, from hobbyists to organizations to companies who want to be in full control and fully manage their ecosystem of IoT. Which again is one of the major challenges, and we will go into some of those services that we offer as we continue. And this is really kind of the end result. It's intended to be more of another simplistic view of this, because that internet after a Soracom enabled solution, that internet piece really becomes optional. Again, your device may have the need to get out to the open internet, or maybe to specific internet-facing services, but that's definitely not always the case. And you are very able to again manage and fully control with a complete end-to-end network within Soracom's platform, and you wouldn't have to worry about the internet. It becomes optional.
I'll touch upon this. So the reason why we put this figure is that, in reality, when you build the cloud-based IoT systems, what you want to do is connecting devices to cloud and let them interact with the servers you have, or services offered by cloud service providers, like, for example, AWS. So what we actually built as a platform is, if you open under the hood, actually we have built our telecom core network on top of AWS, meaning that, so if you use our SIM card, the devices connect to local operators network. For example, here in the US, AT&T and T-Mobile networks are supported. So the devices first talk to those local base stations or radio towers. And then what happens is we have agreement with those providers, so those network providers, and their components will talk to our telecom components on top of AWS without actually going through the internet. So the data comes from the device to local network provider and to us on top of AWS. So they don't go through the internet. So that's what we call cloud native connectivity. And it actually solves a lot of challenges. For example, since from devices point of view, next hop is already AWS environment. That actually means that devices don't have to send data over the internet, and we can actually terminate the cellular connection. It means we can actually authenticate device on behalf of the actual destination servers, and actually add the identity information or credentials you need to apply to call destination cloud service, for example. We have implemented those features, which we're gonna introduce shortly. And because of the features that we have implemented, this cloud native connectivity and also integration to cloud services, many customers have appreciated this feature when they think about security and integration to cloud seriously. So we have a wide variety of customers, starting from big enterprises like, for example, Toyota, Canon, and the Daido, for example. Daido is, for example, a large vending machine, large drink company, and they have a huge number of vending machines in Japan. They have been connecting their vending machines by using our Soracom connectivity and integrate with AWS Cloud. Another example would be Komatsu. Komatsu, they have so many construction machines like bulldozers, excavators, and all that. And they have been connecting all these machines for a long time. But they actually started to use our connectivity because we can enable a secure connection from device to their destination servers in their data centers. We are also used by very many startups worldwide. Because again, we have pay-as-you-go based pricing model, which you can start any scale, any size, and you can scale as much as you want. So, for example, companies like Enabrain in Europe, they have been using our connectivity to monitor buildings, like office buildings and all that. And they actually control their HVAC systems by sending a command from the cloud side logic. We have customers like Open Door in the States. They are San Francisco-based huge startups. They are big unicorn startups. They have been connecting their real estate properties so that they can provide an app that people can use to open door when they want to actually have a look at the property before they buy the property. Another example would be Wheel. They are US and Japan-based startup who has offered a personal mobility device. It looks like a wheelchair, but you can actually control by using joystick, and it has a really well-designed wheels that actually can go anywhere. It has helped people to move around different parts of the city. They have been using our connectivity so that they can actually offer remote maintenance and proactive assistance for their customers. They are multi-CES award winners, and they have chosen our connectivity because we have features to move the heavy liftings from the device side to cloud side. As Zach mentioned, they can actually use lightweight protocols to send data to us, and we help send data from our side to their servers. And from device to our side, they can use low overhead protocols. And we can actually use cloud side secure protocols, like for example, HTTPS, to send data to cloud. So we actually, as you saw, we have so many different customers, and they actually came up with so many use cases that were beyond our imagination. And one day we thought about an idea. Hey, if we actually launch a contest and get proposals from all these creative, innovative developers, maybe we can get more ideas, and we can get more. We can actually give more influence to the world to make the world a better place to live. That's what actually we want to do ultimately. So that's why we started to, we launched this contest together with Hackster and our co-sponsored Seed Studio and AWS. So we have already received a lot of very interesting ideas and proposals, and we are so excited about that. And since it's a contest, we will eventually choose the winners, and we will judge based on several different criteria. And that is summarized in this slide. So of course, the first thing is creativity. It doesn't have to be original, but should be creative.
We just to echo what Kenta said, this is the most exciting thing about this for us. Is all the submissions that came in, which were, you put this out there and you don't really know what the response might be. We were very, very pleasantly surprised with the amount of amazing submissions and the ideas from all over the world. Honestly, that was the coolest part about it. So that's a big thing for us, and kind of why we put it at the top of the list is to be creative. And that's, again, it's not as challenging as it used to be, but it's still very challenging I think to come up with something that is what we like to say world changing, at least potentially. How can your device impact the world? Of course, with a lot of the demos and the kits, it's really fun and easy to make very simple little demos for monitoring how many times your door opens or something like that. That's great, but how can you apply that to a real world use case that can have a major impact? So that's really what we're looking for with that. We also encourage very strongly to show us your plan for prototype to production. Because this is really one of the biggest challenges. We see the majority of these kinds of projects, unfortunately, not be able to make it past the prototype phase. And again, I really think this is just because we're in this new industry, and it hasn't really facilitated itself for those types of, that type of challenge yet. But we're definitely getting there, and Soracom certainly has solved that problem. So we would like to know what your plan is to get past that prototype phase. And any documentation you can provide as well, that just shows us how well you've thought things out. And again, there's really no kind of criteria for the documentation, but it is fun and it is really interesting and cool to see how you created the project and, those types of things. So it could just be a video, it could be pictures, it could be, written documentation or whatever. So get creative there as well. And then again, we've got several services that are available to you once you connect to our platform. So in the contest kind of walkthrough, we showcase a couple of those services. So certainly encourage you to try them out and maybe go beyond that and look into the rest of our services as well. So submissions due by June 2nd, so that's already very soon. And again, we can't wait to see what those are.
Right. One thing about the architecture and operational excellence. So again, usually the challenge is how to move from prototype to production. There are so many great ideas, but they can't actually fly if they don't actually think through this part. Especially when it comes to architecture, IoT systems may involve many tens of thousands or even more of devices. So you need to actually think about how you can actually go to that scale once you deploy the device systems to the field. So but we are not actually just slowing the challenge to you guys. We actually have features and also great co-sponsors, AWS and Cellular Studio. They have Cellular Studio has devices that you can actually minimize the cost for cost per device, and also power consumption at the device side. And we connect these devices to cloud services. I mean AWS. So AWS has wide variety of services that help you analyze your data, or you can apply machine learning algorithms, and you can actually also store huge amount of data without thinking about the limit. So please think through this architecture, and also show us how well you have thought through this, how to move from small scale prototype to production.
Absolutely, and this is a bit of a busy slide, but I really want to show just some of the services that we are mentioning here, specifically Harvest, and we're going to do a quick demo for you involving Harvest and Funnel, which are basically three of the tools in our toolbox, essentially, for you to ship data to public cloud endpoints, to whatever endpoint that you might be using to collect and analyze and take action on that data, however you have that set up. We work really hard to be agnostic and flexible in that. So when you're on the Soracom platform, you can use, you can integrate with Amazon Kinesis, for example, or AWS IoT, just for a couple examples. Sure.
Yeah. So this is actually what we were talking about when we touched upon Will and some other companies who have optimized their battery consumption and device management by using our features. So again, by using our symbol, we can authenticate each device and apply the configuration you have given to us. For example, customers like Daido, if they have integrated their vending machines to Amazon S3, their storage service. So if you try to build that without actually having any other features around, you have to put the AWS SDK into each and every vending machine, and you need to put the AWS credentials, unique one, so that it won't be copied from one to another. And you have to actually rotate the keys, and you basically need to consider all of those aspects, and it's challenging. But they actually chose to use our connectivity and also Soracom funnel in this slide to integrate their vending machine to Amazon Kinesis Firehose. So what they do is actually they put our SIM card, and we authenticate we connect their vending machines and authenticate them. And we apply their AWS credentials on our cloud side to send the data to Amazon Kinesis Firehose. So that's one example. So, by doing that, the SIM card is, in the end, it's an authentication module that is designed for telecom grade, secure authentication. So we can leverage that to authenticate device and integrate those with devices with cloud side. And also, since we actually receive data and we can authenticate devices, you don't necessarily have to use have to have an authentication credential on each device, and we can receive data by using, for example, TCP UDP raw socket, and then still we can recognize which device is sending data. So just by sending, for example, UDP packet, we can extract the payload and forward that to Amazon Kinesis, for example. That's the strength of these services we offer.
In addition to the services, we have the ability to, sorry about that. We have the ability to peer, if you are in AWS, if you have a backend in AWS, we have the ability to be, geez, I can't speak. We have the ability to utilize AWS VPC peering to peer your backend with ours. And once you've done that, you essentially have a completely private end-to-end network. And this is extremely unique in the IoT industry for any sort of connectivity providers. I don't know of anybody else that's doing this. So we're pretty proud of this ability. And it is something that a lot of our customers like, not only for the security aspect of it, but it is, if anybody who's familiar with AWS, you'll know that this is extremely easy to do technically. It just takes a matter of minutes. And then once you've done that, we can offer certain services that, again, are pretty unique and rare out there in IoT, like the ability to remotely access your devices. This comes up pretty often, and it seems to be, I'd say at least 3 out of 5 customers I talk to want to do more than just push OTA updates or something to their device. They might have a need to actually SSH to that device and do some sort of management capabilities. And obviously, we're not going to put public IPs or put publicly facing IoT devices really out there in the field, for example. So the question becomes, how can I securely remotely connect to this device, from a single point of management or whatever? And we have that ability as well. So, again, that is something that when we talk to customers about, they're really excited to hear about, because it has been a pretty, lacking feature for quite a long time now.
Yeah, Zach is going to show a demo, but that demo is actually using this service, right?
Exactly.
So he actually has SSH to several Raspberry Pis.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do that over the internet by using public global IP address, your device will be always exposed to malicious attackers who try to get into your device. But in our case, by having this setup, the devices and servers can have a dedicated network, private one, and they can actually talk to each other by using private IP address space. That actually gives your devices additional secure network layer that can be added to your security infrastructure.
Right, and really this coupled with the, which we'll show in a bit, the Soracom user console and the ability to manage your SIMs in just one kind of dashboard, gives you that full kind of almost your own mobile network operator kind of experience. So that's all we have to show for slides, fortunately. So I'm gonna just kind of quickly stop this share here. And I want to show, before I get into the actual demo, a lot of people on this watching this have the kit or will receive the kit very soon. I'm sure most are familiar with what I'm holding in my hands here. These are literally the same components of the kit. I've just got, without the case, obviously, a little Raspberry Pi Zero. I've got my ultrasonic sensor connected to it. And then we've got a USB modem dongle here with the Soracom Air SIM inside of it. And as you may be able to see, you can see that it's connected right now, that blue solid light. And this is actually working right now as I'm holding it. It's measuring distance from that sensor. So I'm going to share my screen again here and then show the demo real quick. So, one moment. Okay. Actually, what you see here on the left and right are the Raspberry Pis that I am remotely connected to. I do have one here at my desk, but I'm SSH'd into it remotely. And I also have one at my desk in my office about a mile away from here. And so I've got a script running that is basically measuring the ultrasonic sensor is measuring the distance, and the script is sending those measurements to the Soracom platform. So to show that real quick, again, some of you may have already created an account on our console, a free account, of course, and some of you may have already registered SIMs here. So you're somewhat familiar with this. Those who are not, this is essentially the dashboard for SIM management. Me, in this case, I've just got about 6 SIMs, only those 2 online right now, just because, you know, anybody who's demoed anything, you gotta keep the complexity as low as you can, because we want it to work for the video. So I keep it simple. As you can see here, again, these 2 SIMs that I have online, one of the services that is available to you, it's almost an out-of-the-box kind of experience, which again is very rare, is to be able to look. Yes.
Yeah, if you go down, probably you can show where we are.
Oh, right, yeah.
From.
Good idea. Yeah, so you can actually see the location of your SIMs in a geographical map, which is also very handy. I mean, it is another very, very common conversation that we have with customers to say, hey, I'd like to know where my device is. You know, some of these devices roam, obviously, so the ability to track that is very, very important. So just to look at the harvest data that is being tracked, I can click on actions and go to harvest data here. And let me just click this auto refresh. Kind of looks like a bit like an EKG in this one, but you have several different options for visualizing the data. You can also see the actual raw data here below. And then Kenta is actually, I believe this is the, yeah. Let me see. Kenta's putting his hand in front of the sensor and just going to show the different, you know, how it changes as you move your hand in front of it. It might be the other sim that I have. I apologize for that. We'll show you that in a second as well. But both of these are tracking the same data right now, or I should say in the same way, but just from 2 different sensors.
And again, here, you know, the device, the Raspberry Pi actually is doing just a HTTP request to our endpoint, and doesn't have any kind of credentials to authenticate. We use our SIM card. So the code-wise, your code just needs to do HTTP request in this case. Or it could be like a TCP UDP raw socket if you want to rather further optimize the communication overhead.
That's right, and because this data is basically indexed here in the platform is why you're able to just simply from the user console very easily you know, look at the data being reported without having to have any sort of third-party software or systems involved in this at all. And again, you're able to download it in some various, in a couple different formats as well, which is pretty handy for reporting and whatnot. One additional feature for a kind of an add-on to Harvest, if you will, is called Lagoon. And what I have here is the data from both of my sensors out there being graphed in the same view. I won't go too much into this. It's Grafana based. So if anybody's familiar with those guys, you know what it's capable of. You're very customizable layout. You can do a lot of different things with it. Just for the simplicity of this demo, I just wanted to show that you can use it to you know, to view multiple devices in one single graph at the same time.
by using Lagoon, actually, you can create a nice dashboard showing all, the status from different devices. And also, if you want, you can actually set a threshold in some graphs, and actually, you can get alerted when the threshold is passed, for example.
Right. Yes, and so just to kind of touch on that, because this is also another very common conversation, it's that full visibility requirement, of course, and which includes the visualization, the data collection, and all that stuff. So what you might want to set up, for example, let me just go back to the same one. Is an alert, like Kenta said. We have a service called Watch, where you can specify certain thresholds that you can be alerted on if a particular SIM were to exceed, whatever threshold you set it on. Because obviously, it is very important to know the type, how much data your devices are transmitting, no matter who your provider is. That is data that you pay for. So being fully aware of the usage and making sure you don't have a rogue device, if you will, out there that is doing something that it shouldn't be doing and thus costing you more money than it needs to be. You have the ability to set up those types of monitoring alerts. Now, what I also have, and I'll just kind of go straight to this real quick, and we can step back a little bit if anybody is interested in the Q&A, which is coming up. So I'm going to kind of rush through this, unfortunately. There's a service that we offer called Unified Endpoint, and the way that it's set up is essentially, we showed that slide. We've got the funnel, and beam, and harvest. What Unified Endpoint can do is basically send data to all three, I should say, to three of those services if you have that configured. Now, for me in this demo, I've got it set up to go to harvest, which you've seen, and I also have that data shipping to just an S3 bucket in my Amazon VPC. So I can literally go into my S3 bucket. This has been running for about an hour now. I can click on one of these, and let's just take a look at it in JSON format. And you're able to basically see the same data, little in a JSON structure, of course. And that's just another example of the kind of control and flexibility that you have.
And if you are familiar with AWS, once you put data into Amazon S3, you can do whatever you want by using different services. You can query data by using Amazon Athena. You could also use those data as an input for machine learning services or whatever you want. So, and what kind of development flow might look like this? Well, it doesn't have to be, but the typical scenario we see in the development phase is people use the sensors and devices to send data to harvest because it's easy. You just create a HTTP request or TCP socket, and then you see the data as we saw in the demo. And once you know how the data looks like, you could use Soracom Lagoon to create a dashboard, or actually you can actually turn on Soracom funnel feature and set up the integration to AWS, for example. And then data just is forked to both harvest and the AWS. And then at the AWS side, you could do, you can apply all these different services. So that's something you can consider when you are building prototypes or the actual systems. And we have now capability to support this development flow seamlessly. So that's excuse me, something we wanted to touch upon.
Yeah, and this time has gone by super quick, so we wanted to pause here for the Q&A portion.
Awesome, guys. That was great. Okay. So a reminder to everybody who's watching this to keep asking questions in the Q&A. We only have a couple questions so far, but still I'll start with one from Guillermo Perez, who asks, what are your goals and number of users for your technology?
Sorry, can you
goals and number of users?
Goals. Well, actually, our vision is to connect anyone and every device.
Everybody. How many people are in the world? 7 point something billion. And how many devices are there now? 20 billion? I mean, no, not that much, but soon.
report says 50 billion connected devices by 2020. So
yeah.
we probably by 2020 we don't hit that number, but eventually we try to cover much more than we do today. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, goal is
the sky's the limit, which is kind of a pun actually, because Sora is Japanese for sky. So
right.
Yeah, you can use that one.
Actually, we might want to go beyond the sky at some point.
Yeah.
We will be having space communications eventually. So
That's right.
always even higher the sky.
That's
higher
right.
The sky.
The next question here.
Yeah, so with the investment in Resin, Balena, where do you sit in relation to them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, just for your information, yes, we have actually investment fund to accelerate the IoT ecosystem. That's called Soracom IoT Fund. And Resin, well, they are now called Balena. They are our first investment we have done. The reason is that for people who don't know yet about Balena, I will just briefly give an overview. So they have a platform to manage the containers, Docker containers on IoT devices. So basically, by using their platform and their operating system, you can treat IoT devices just like another container environment. So you write code and create a Docker container and push that to GitHub, and the container will be deployed to your IoT device fleet. So that's what they do. So as it sounds, it makes the embedded device development, embedded program application development much easier than before. And also the containers is a technology that is already familiar with a lot of cloud-side developers. So when it comes to IoT, you need to do both. You need to know various sides of the system, like cloud, device, and all that. And we have so many. There are so many developers on the cloud side, but when it comes to embedded side, there are so many. But there are not so many people who know both ends, right? But by having Balena as a partner, the cloud side developers who are already familiar with container technologies can build code and deploy to embedded devices. So we thought we could actually bridge the kind of gap between embedded world and cloud world, and accelerate the developers to produce more code.
Yeah, absolutely. Devices. It's definitely worth repeating that the landscape is so vast. Like Kenta said, there is rarely a person or an organization who has expertise in all the different aspects of IoT. It's hardware, it's software, it's connectivity, it's security. It's so many different. It's so multifaceted that often we'll talk to people who are experts in one or maybe two of those areas, and they may have no experience or insight whatsoever into the others that are all vital components of that project. So our partnerships, our network of hardware and software partners and kind of IoT consulting firms, things like that. We just continuously expanding, continuously connecting those dots with people.
Right. Actually, Balena plus Soracom is a common pattern actually we see in multiple customers who have already successfully deployed their IoT systems. So that's another reason why we invest that so that we can actually accelerate this powerful combination.
Absolutely. Okay. Do we have any more questions?
We do have one about how working with Soracom compares to working with AT&T, VCW, T-Mobile. If you want to take that one.
I'm going to defer that one to Kenta here.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So yes, so we have supported their networks. So it's not kind of precisely one versus another. But of course you can choose to use the AT&T or T-Mobile SIM cards as well, especially when it comes to huge large data volume use cases. might make sense to use their unlimited data plan and also all that. When it comes to IoT, depending on the use case, you might not need to send a lot of data per device. So in that case, our SIM card may make sense because we have pay-as-you-go pricing model, and we actually calculate the total usage in your account. So we don't count, the data usage per device. We just aggregate all of them, and charge based on number of megabytes or gigabytes that you use. So we have discussed with various customers. For those typical IoT use cases, it actually makes sense to use that kind of pricing model. And also, as we explained and also demoed, we have a bunch of features that make your IoT development easier. So if those features and also pricing model and our connectivity makes sense, yeah, please have a look at our offering. And also that since we can support multiple networks, that is another strong point of using Soracom Air, our cellular connectivity service. Because in some area in the US, there might be a case one operator is not available, but the other is. So by using our SIM card, devices can actually search the signal and connect to one of them that actually has stronger signal. So that's another thing.
It's certainly worth kind of closing this with the uniqueness of what I'm holding in my hand, which, as we know now, is tailor-made for IoT. A major differentiator based on that last question is this can roam in over 130 countries. So that's in and of itself extremely rare to be able to, with one single SIM, or kind of SIM, I should say, accessible in over 130 countries with hundreds of mobile network operators. That's really compelling. And I will also just mention that the time that it would take for you to connect once you receive this, which is also very quick, multiple ways to get our SIM, either on Amazon or you can order it directly from the user console if you have an account. If you don't have a SIM, or maybe you're not part of this contest, you can go to our website and register for a free one. And once you have this, we can have you connected you can have yourself connected, I should say, in less than 1 day. And so anybody who has gone down the path of choosing a connectivity provider, keep in mind that we can get you connected in less than 1 day. So that's
that you have a video that you have.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
published.
I do. Yeah, so I'm part of a team that's going to be building out a series of videos. I just completed my first one last week. It's Air SIM registration. It's a very short 3-minute video that walks you through the process that I just described. It literally can take that long, a matter of minutes, assuming you have the hardware and everything else already sorted out. So look for that on our YouTube channel as well, and future videos.
Cool. There's a question about your vending machine case study. They ask, how was the ROI, or did you save them time or money?
So we can't speak of on behalf of the customer, but as we have observed, and also we have discussed with the customer, that if they had to develop from scratch and they had to do everything, like installing AWS SDK and credentials to each and every vending machine, they had to have a lot of engineering resource, and also the project got much bigger than it was. They chose to use funnel, so they could have very simple logic in the vending machine to send data. So that accelerated their development process a lot. That's what they have mentioned, and also they have spoken at one of our conferences. So I'm confident that they have saved a lot of engineering resources.
Great. We have one from Joe Reese who asks about international connectivity. You answered this a little bit in the last question, but he says it would be essential to his project, and he wants to know what kind of international connectivity do you have, and what types of cellular networks is your modem compatible with?
Yeah, so the SIM card-wise, as Zach mentioned, we have covered more than 130 countries. So the restriction is more on modem side. the modem has to support frequency that the local operators, is using. So for example, if you go to major countries in Europe, we have well covered the countries, and of course, US, Canada, and Middle and South American, and also Asian countries like, for example, Singapore, Japan, of course, that's where we are from. We have covered major countries, and if you see any kind of help figuring out, where we can support or not, yeah, please feel free to contact us.
Great. All right. Anybody else have any more questions? The last 2 minutes of the webinar.
Well, take that as we communicated our message effectively. That's great.
Yeah, and people can also ask questions on Hackster's, on the contest on Hackster. I'll also send that out to you guys with the recording and your slides, if you're willing to share them.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And one last thing I might want to mention is we will have a conference in July in Japan, Tokyo. It's a big conference we do annually. Last year, more than 3,000 people registered. And the grand prize for this contest is actually invitation to Japan during the week.
With us.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Please submit here. Yeah.
We have one last question, actually, from Travis Teague. He asks, is MIMO supported?
Yeah, so as far as the modem supports it, and also the local operator supports it, yes. I mean, SIM card wise, we can actually cover 2G, 3G, LTE coverages. So, yeah.
Great. Okay, and I assume people can reach you on the discussion on the Hackster's contest. They can ask more questions there. Anywhere else they can ask questions? Is that the best place?
That's the best place for this contest for sure. Obviously, check out our website. We have a ton of resources, walkthroughs, things like that you might be interested in. And of course, you can contact us multiple ways through that site. So yeah.
Great. All right. Thank you guys so much. That was a great webinar, and I'm so excited for this contest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
That was great. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
thanks so much. Good luck.
Yeah.
Take care.